Here we go. I'm back. Apologies. So I'm going to make sure that we record this session. Please feel free to jump in and ask me any questions that you may have. You might use other tools that are mapping tools or data tools and have questions about how we compare to those tools. You might have heard of other tools. So definitely let me know if you have those questions, and I'll try and address them as we go through. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. And let's see. Let's go over here and get started. So this is the main page, and hopefully you've all had a chance to dig in and take a look at the tool and do some research and create some really interesting maps. But when you log into your trial account, you don't log into the main page for PolicyMap, and you'll find some interesting and important data here. Number one of which is what data is there. And a lot of the questions that we get related to PolicyMap and what's there are where your indicator is coming from. Is it just census data? Is it just open data? And that it isn't. It is data that's coming from over 150 different sources. There is census data. There is data from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, from Housing and Urban Development. But additionally, there's going to be data that are our own analytics. There's going to be data related to limited supermarket access. There are some interesting indices that you'll see here as well. And what you'll find when you take a look at this data, that you'll be able to see, the different sources, how far back it goes, and where we're taking it from, how granular the data is, how often it's updated. So there's a really nice matrix that you can download right now, and you can see what's there. The data is, for the most part, taking a look at what's happening in communities or neighborhoods at the present time. So we'll go back to the year 2000. There is some historical data. So for instance, there are the red line maps that are available that you can overlay with our own data and take a look at information related to structural problems or things that happened over time, and take a look at current social, economic, and health data. So these are the major categories. There is demographic data related to incomes and spending, data related to quality of life. So for instance, access to the internet or digital equity, people who have access to fresh, healthy foods, parks access, that sort of data. And then you'll find data related to education, health, and then other data that would include federal guidelines or specific analytics, like information about whether or not a specific neighborhood might be an opportunity zone or eligible for federal funding through the Community Reinvestment Act or new market tax credits. So questions about what's here, you can see exactly what's there. We also have some interesting data for our academic clients. We do have close to 200 academic or universities and colleges that use us. This page is a work in progress, but there's lots of good information here, some sample exercises from professors and instructors who are using our tool, some assignments and papers where the researchers have cited our tool and our data within there. There's some webinars and videos. And then there's also a site here for curriculum support. If you go into here, or curriculum, sorry, I'm looking for, apologies, assignments and papers. So here you'll find a lot of the assignments and papers that are here, and some really interesting information. And I'm going to try and highlight some of my favorite customer stories as we go into the tool and take a look. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to open the map. Now you, with your trial site, have your own custom interface, and you can go in and you can create an account, and when you create that account, you can save your data. You can save things like custom regions. You can share your data with other people within your community. So keep that in mind, that you'll have the ability to go in and create your own account and do and save your data and share it as well. But for me, I'm in my own personal account. You'll see it's a totally clickable, zoomable map. It is only US data. And when I put the data on a map, for instance, if I just wanted to take a look at population data, it's going to give me that data for the entire country. And I can use this location toolbar up on the top, and it's going to allow me to, search by a specific location, or I can simply just go into Baltimore and I can look at the county. I can look at Baltimore City County. I can look at the entire city and pull out that data. And when I do that, it's going to actually, show me trends over time and pull out these analytics. It's going to allow me to really zoom in. And this is a new platform. So if you've looked at PolicyMap over the past several years, you'll note that this is a little bit more contemporary, a little bit prettier than our previous platform. But here you can see these trend charts, and I've clicked on this particular census tract. It's going to show me the growth in population within this area, and I can pull these charts out as well from within here. And I can overlay it with different geographies, and I can pull out that data as well. So you can pull this out and you can really, zero in all the way down to a particular block group. And see what's happening pretty easily. So here we see this area down along the Inner Harbor, which is the most populous. We can see that there's still growth, and I can also change the ranges. So I can play with this to see, where the areas that are most populous within the legend. I can change the variables. Maybe I wanted to see changes over the past 5 years. And, here I can see neighborhoods where there's population growth, and, zero over and see exactly what's happening in a particular area. So you can also change, how the data is shaded by census tract or by zip code or by county, and pull out that data. So it's not just census data, but I just started off with a data set that is in fact just the population data from the census, but you'll see that you can break out that data to find out information about specific racial or ethnic groups. You can find information about specific age groups. So if you're looking to see where there's a large number of people who are 65 or older or of working age, you can pull that out. Or young adults, you can pull that out. So where there are a large number of people living between the ages of 18 and 20 within this area. And you can see, trends over time with specific population groups. There's some interesting data here. So for anybody who's interested in health sciences or in sociology or social work or social problems, you can find information about people who are living in poverty with a specific disability, by age group, by employment status, where there are a large number of people with a hearing difficulty or a vision difficulty. Where are SSI recipients or people receiving federal assistance? And you can find that out by specific age groups. You can also find data about, migration, data related to specific languages. And this is really interesting. I like this map. It's kind of fun to see, what other languages are being spoken at home, with the exception of English and Spanish. And you can find different ethnic enclaves, and you can really see what's happening in a specific area. And, it might become a surprise to you to see what's there. And it's really important. Like, for instance, when we work with people who are studying public health or who are doing outreach into the community to see, who's living in their community and how can you reach the people in that community. So it's fascinating. There's also data here on family types. So you'll note that you can see, if we go into households and families, where there are a large number of people who are single with children, or if we go into household types, where there are a large number of grandparents who are responsible for grandchildren. And it allows, once again, to see, what's happening within a specific neighborhood and pretty quickly and easily what's happening. If I'd want it to, I can also go ahead and I can overlay data. And that's really, what makes it nice to have all of this, these different data sets, is that we can find hotspots and find different areas that meet a specific criteria. So if I'm looking at data, for instance, related to incomes and spending, I can just go in and take a look at these layers where there might be a large number of people living in poverty, and break it out by families or types of families. But I can also go ahead and take a look at maybe per capita income or median family income. And again, if I zoom out a little bit, you'll see I'm looking at, Baltimore County. If I wanted to just go into the city of Baltimore, let's do that. I can really zoom in and I can see those areas where there's a higher median income. So right down here around the harbor again, it's about 160,000 or 150,000. But if I go up, just a few short miles away, you can see, very clearly the disparities within the neighborhoods within Baltimore. And I can, maybe I just want to see those areas where, where it might be a problem that there's a large number of people who are not making a specific wage. I can change these, I can change these variables and see what's there. So I can, go ahead and, pull out these ranges, or I can just view specific areas on a map so I can figure out, what's there. But if I go into a multi-layer map, if you see on the upper right-hand corner, I now have the ability to overlay this data. So maybe I'm not so worried about, where the people are who are making, where their area median income is over $100,000. But here I can, go ahead and find this area in and around Baltimore where, it's under $40,000. And then I can take a look at other social or economic or health factors. So maybe I'm worried about access to the internet or access to computers. And I can go ahead and I can see, where there are a large number of people who don't have access to the internet. And again, I can start to layer this in. And, during the past year, we've really looked a lot at this data, and it's really been magnified. All these different disparities among different neighborhoods and communities. So here, we can go ahead and again use this slider and see, where this is a problem. And not only for urban areas, but for rural areas as we look through this. And then maybe I'm interested in, not only areas where there's a lower median income or there's less access to the internet, but then I'm also interested in, educational attainment or unemployment. And I can take a look and see, where there are a large number of people with less than a ninth grade education. And again, I can go in and really pull that out and, find these areas of concern. And I can do this for, up to 5 different layers. And that's a new feature of this new platform that we can go up to 5 layers and really pull this out and figure out, what's happening within a specific neighborhood. So for this area right here, I can see that the median family income is $31,000, and over 30% of the households do not have access to the internet. And the educational attainment is lower than it should be. So I can figure that out. And I think, what's helpful here as well is that we can identify community assets or specific data points here within this area. So maybe I want to know, where there is, here are these quality of life locations. Where are the libraries? Where are the nonprofits within this area? So I can see, for this census tract right up here, there's really, no library that close. Well, there's a couple up here, but we can see, also where are the schools? So where are the community colleges or the universities or the libraries or the Head Start centers? So we can start to identify assets within that area and really figure out, if I did not have Wi-Fi, where could I find, this, or who can I work with to help the people within these areas? So there's an example of just how you can go ahead and you could do a multi-layer map. You can also do a multi-layer map where maybe you're taking a look at specific health conditions. And this is really where I feel we shine. So we have the small area health estimates where we can take a look at specific health conditions. So, where are there a large number of people who have diabetes or high blood pressure? And again, we can slide this over and figure out where there's a higher incidence of diabetes. And then I can start to think about age groups. So where there are a large number of people who are older than 65, with, in an area where there's a higher level of diabetes, or, we can take a look at other conditions too. So not just diabetes, maybe high blood pressure as well. So we can start to layer these things or specific risk factors, so obesity rates or alcohol and tobacco use. And again, really see, what's happening in specific areas. And here you can see, for this area, exactly what's happening. And if I wanted to share this, there's a couple of things I can do. And if I zoom out, I can see this area, up to the northwest of the county, exactly what's happening, or of the city. I can print these out and share this. And we do have a page that gives detailed guidelines about citing this and when you're incorporating these maps and tables into your work. And you could pull this out. If I want to, I can also clip out that section and figure out, what's happening. There we go. So if I'm just looking at Baltimore County or Baltimore. And now I can just take a look at the specific area and print that out on a map as well. So you get the idea that, you can pull out this data, you can download the data, and I'm going to show you that next. A second, it looks like I'm pushing my luck. Sorry about that. I love live demos. So if you want, perhaps you could unmute and let me know if there's a particular area of concentration where your expertise lies or what you're interested in, because I'd be happy to focus on your own personal interests or for the disciplines that you support. Just let me know. Okay, so here we go. I'm going to go back into the single layer maps and show you a few things. Okay. So you see that you can go ahead and you can take a look at trends over time, and that there's lots of different data sets that are here. I will try and highlight some of the data sets that are unique to PolicyMap as well, that you won't find on other data and mapping tools. So within here, you'll see that we have data on consumer spending habits. How much is a household spending on housing, food at home, alcohol, education, and we can find, that pretty quickly. And if you ever have questions about where this data is coming from, we do try to be extremely transparent about this. So you can go ahead and click on the source. You can click on the I from within the legend, and it's going to tell you, exactly how this data is calculated and where it's coming from, how and how recent the data is. But you can also link out directly to the data directory that I showed you at the beginning. So there's never any question about where this data is coming from. Within incomes and spending, there's also data here on housing affordability, data on food insecurity. So where are there a large number of food insecure people, where are there SNAP recipients? If you're looking at data related to childhood poverty and childhood education and well-being, there's a lot of data here related to that as well. And then there's data related to economic mobility. So what is the opportunity for advancement for a particular person based on race, sex, age, based on race and sex for advancement for very low income families, or for middle income families? And you can find that rather quickly here. So here, if we want to take a look at women, and this is data that is going to be at the county level. And if I zoom in, I can go into the census tract. And keep in mind when I'm looking at this data, it's sometimes I feel like PolicyMap data is depressing data, but it is. But if you take a look, you can change how you're viewing this data. So if I keep on zooming in, you'll note that, if someone had the good fortune of being born at in a family of very low income in or around the harbor, the probability of upward mobility is higher than if you go into the surrounding neighborhoods. And, like I said, sometimes it's depressing data, but it's really important to see what's there. There's data related to housing. So maybe I'm interested in taking a look at data related to the value of homes. And if any of your professors are teaching gentrification, or if they're talking about, how a neighborhood changes over time and how people are displaced from neighborhoods, again, you can take a look at the median value of these homes and see what they are. But then you can also take a look at these changes. So if I just even wanted to click here, I can see, for this zip code, the change over time, and it's really, really interesting. If I'd wanted to pull this out in a table, I can pull it out, but I could also view it, by block group, and I can change the geography, maybe if I wanted to do it for Baltimore City. Oops, I have to spell it correctly. For the whole county, then I can pull down this data by census tract and see what's there. And I can change, how it's being viewed, and easily pull down this data for all the block groups within here. So the data that you're viewing right here, you can pull down pretty easily. All the data that you pull down from PolicyMap, you can hold in perpetuity as well. So anything that you download, you can download and import into other tools. So if your students are using R, or if they're using, Tableau, or just pulling it into a Tableau spreadsheet, they can easily do that. Or not, an Excel spreadsheet, I'm sorry. They can do that as well. So, realize that you can do that. And again, you can pull down the full chart. Under housing, we can also see data related to specific locations. So where is multifamily housing Where is their public housing? Where are the low-income housing tax credit points? And again, we can pull this detailed data out into a list and see these LIHTC locations pretty easily. So lots of interesting data related to housing, data related to lending. So again, something that we've been looking at a lot this year is information about number one, where there are mortgage loan denials, and we have that data broken out by race, and you can figure that out. And here, if we go ahead, and we can see the originations of loans. Here are the denials. And again, we can see, where there are a large number of people, or of Black people who were denied loans, and we can see the changes. We can see in 2016 for the Baltimore City County that it was 42%, and we see a favorable trend right here. But we can pull that out, and we can download this as a PNG, or we can pull down this data and do a CSV spreadsheet. When we take a look at these mortgage loan denials, we can also then maybe take a look at, homeowners loan risk maps and see, where, the redlining actually did happen for this area.
I have a quick question for you, Betsy.
Sure.
I'm just wondering, so I like that you can like download and export it and all that kind of stuff. Can professors, like, let's say they created one of these for a class with a bunch of data points on it, could they like directly export that to students so like they won't need to like go through and mark all of these things? They can just use a specific already done map?
They can. So there's a
Okay.
few things you can do. And one thing I should address is the fact that right now we need to toggle through our old platform and the new platform as our developers slowly are adding every feature to the new platform. So you can go ahead and you can download data more completely and data with points and everything within within those sidebars that I was showing you. But if you'd want it to just like pull everything down for the US, you need to go back to the legacy platform. Within a few weeks, that will be there. But there's also this share menu down here.
Okay.
And with this share menu, of course, it looks like I chose something that you can't share, like the this data that's exclusive data. But if I chose something I could share, so let me go ahead and let's choose, maybe I just want to take a look at travel time to work, or I could do, vehicles per household. No vehicles. If I wanted to share this, I can embed the map, but in the future, I can also go ahead and share it via Twitter or LinkedIn or whatever tool I'm using. I can email the link, or I can create a tiny URL to share with my students. So you can go ahead and share your data in a couple of different ways. And this is something that we're just testing, and it will be up within the next week or so. So being able to share beyond embedding. But right now you can go ahead and get this iframe code and share it with students as well, or whomever, or you can embed this map onto a web page or to a specific guide. If that makes sense.
Great. I have one more question for you then.
Sure.
So let's say a professor like embeds this into their course and multiple students will use it. Is that tracked within usage statistics? Do
Well,
you know?
right now we track usage statistics via Google Analytics. So yes,
Mm,
you will see, page views and entries and the time spent and that data.
cool.
So you can see that.
Thanks.
Sure. One thing I didn't show you is the ability to create some custom regions. So here, if I'd want it to, and I'm going to go ahead and let's clear this off. If I go into colleges and universities, I'm going to go ahead and zoom out to make sure I pull out Loyola, University of Maryland, I can go ahead and maybe I'd want it to create a custom region in and around your school. So I can do a number of things. I can draw this region, I can assemble the region, or I can do a radius around a specific area. So if I just wanted to draw a region, I can continue and I can just click through and create this region. And I'm going to, just call it my area of interest. And now I have the ability to go ahead and pull down the data for this specific region. I can take a look at, demographic data, the health data, income data for this area and pull it down quickly and easily. So that way, I can just, draw that area on a map. I can also, if I don't want that region, go ahead and I'm going to go ahead and just zoom really into your neighborhood. And in fact, we do, I don't know if you know anything about the background of PolicyMap, but we come from a company called Reinvestment Fund. And Reinvestment Fund is a community development financial institution that does low interest loans into communities, which is how this was developed. It was a tool where our founder was working in their policy group and was pulling out her hair using ArcGIS. And she said there has to be an easy way to take all this data and combine it with our data and find information about this. But it was also important to be able to once you had an area of interest that you were looking at, being able to create these custom regions and find information about these regions. So I can go in and again, and create a custom region and I can assemble it, based on any geography that I want. So maybe if I wanted to take a look by block group or by zip codes, I can go ahead and, start to say, okay, I want to find out everything I need to know about this area that I just created. And again, I can just call this my Loyola neighborhood and save this. And then, I can go ahead and start to pull down that data from here. But we also have some neat little things I can do for this neighbor, within this region. I can go ahead and, I can get a report for this area. There's this community profile report. And it will very quickly generate a report that gives me the underlying data that I've been showing you. So it will show you information about the population trends and the racial characteristics or the age distribution within the area that you drew on a map or that you assembled on a map. So it's a nice little tear sheet. It's going to tell you, give you a breakdown and tell you that, over 50% of the people in this neighborhood have an annual income over $150,000. It's going to tell you that over 50% of the people within this neighborhood are married with children. And then it'll tell you data about the housing types, the tenure of the homes. So in this area, an estimated number of, or almost 75% of the households have owned their home. And vacancy data about employment and unemployment and what industries the people who live in this neighborhood are working in. So you can see where this is like a nice starting point for anybody who's just trying to figure out what's happening within a specific area. But what's an even more interesting report is this community health report. And you need to do the community health report for counties or census tracts. And I want to clear my location. So maybe I just wanted to do it for Baltimore County. And again, all this underlying data will be pulled out. And this is a more modern report where where all of the reports will be going. But here you again have estimated population, changes over time, and you can benchmark against the state. data on racial composition. You can see that the data, all these charts and graphs the data can be downloaded, or you can take these images out and incorporate them into your own reporting. So this is also a tool not only for your curriculum and for your reference within the library. It might be a tool for your administration or community engagement to see what's happening in and around the neighborhood. It's also a tool. We have one university in Texas that uses it for service. And since you are a Jesuit university, I'm sure that your students are involved in the service component of what's happening in and around your neighborhoods, where you can see, where there are a large number of people who are living in poverty. This school actually looked at, where there are a large number of young mothers living in poverty and their proximity to grocery stores, so that they could set up diaper banks for at those, or do partnerships with the grocery stores within there to see what's happening. So this community health report isn't available within your trial, but I can send you a copy of that so you can look through it. But there's lots of really interesting data here about, all those chronic conditions that I mentioned before, cancer rates, data about sexually transmitted diseases, mortality rates, data related to drug overdoses. Again, more depressing data, really important information. Data about access to fresh, healthy foods. So you can figure out where there's limited supermarket access and, what's happening within an area. And really, again, another strength of ours are these behavioral risk factors related to health and the social determinants of health. So anybody who's taking a look at that type of data would really be interested in seeing this report. Okay, let me go back, return to our map, and just see if there's some other interesting data sets that I haven't shown you. One thing that you're going to note is that you will have let me just do a sample search. So we'll do a multi-layer map. And I want to take a look at, for instance, we can take a look at people who, take a look at poverty. So we can take a look at poverty, and we can take a look at specific populations. And again, I can figure this out. And then maybe I want to take a look at, again, data related to housing. And I wanted to see where there are a large number of people who are burdened by housing. So we can either take a look at that as a percentage of AMI, or we can just say where there are a large number of households who are renters who are cost burdened. Again, I can pull this out. And when I take a look at this, I can also maybe take a look at something like under quality of life, we have data related to where are the brownfields, Superfund sites. Again, we could pull that out, and this is always interesting to look at with those red line maps, that we could see these neighborhoods with a higher level of people living in poverty who are burdened by their rent, who are living in close proximity to brownfields and Superfund sites. You can also, adjust how you're viewing this. That's just eye candy, but it's sort of fun to take a peek at. And you can, really start to see, areas of concern, but you can also, take a look at this related to where are the flood zones. So again, I can take a look. We can either take a look at these flood zones here and pull it out. And when we take a look at flood zones and we take a look at that next to, here, these are just the polygons. I don't necessarily want that. We can take a look at that in these base maps as well and see what's there. Oh, and this is actually a brand new data set that's here. We can also take a look at these transit lines. We just added this. And I think this is going to be really important as we're thinking about areas and where people have access to transportation and proximity to transportation. So this is really fascinating too. But you can, really layer out this data and figure out what's happening within an area and see that pretty quickly and easily. These base map settings are also really interesting if you want it to go ahead and not have all of this background and clean up the map a little bit. You can do that pretty easily. You also have the ability to do a satellite map and overlay the data there. So again, some things that you might not have seen if you didn't peek through here. You could take a look at terrain. And since Reinvestment Fund does quite a bit of work in and around the Baltimore area. In fact, we have an office in Baltimore. You're going to see that there's some interesting boundaries here that you can overlay here. So in fact, we actually have the Baltimore neighborhoods that you can add to the map as well, if I can find them. Let's see, where are they? So you can take a look at those boundaries on the map. And I know they're here.
I saw them. Go back down.
Thank you. How frustrating. I'm sorry. Here we go.
Oh,
so you can see these neighborhoods on the map as well. If I zoom out, I can see it a little bit better. It might be harder to read on this satellite map, but it allows you to see a little bit better, this area right here, Old Goucher, or the Greenmount Cemetery area. So you can, more easily label and see exactly what's there within the neighborhoods. Okay. For your business majors, you might be interested in seeing, and I'm not sure how I'm doing on time, some of the data related to opportunity zones, new market tax credits, or, information about, different areas, businesses in different areas. So what you can also take a look at here is there are, well, here are these FEMA disaster declarations. There's information about new market tax credit transactions, data on qualified opportunity zones and new market tax credits. And if I deselect all, and if I just want to find those areas, that are eligible for both, you can see, easily identify this. But if I layer this, I could also see, okay, where are the medically underserved areas? If I was going to, build a health center. And I can deselect all and find my medically underserved areas. So the areas, this area is eligible for federal funding, and it's also a medically underserved area. I can take a look and see where the community health centers and lookalikes are on this map, and whether or not this would be a good area to create a new federal health center, or I might be taking a look at something like educational attainment, and where there's an area where there's some high school or less. And again, a way for identifying areas where someone might want to make an investment within these areas. So you can easily identify that. So let me see. I have so many great customer stories about how PolicyMap is being used. We have one school here in the Philadelphia area where their nursing students use us to solve wicked problems, where they'll go in and think about, where are there a large number of people who are living in poverty, and figuring out where they can, for instance, they're just trying to find locations to bring help. This one particular nursing group created a bus that had a washing machine and an internal shower within it, so that people who were living in poverty, who were homeless, could actually, wash their clothes or get a shower. So it's really like helping students to immediately visualize what's happening in an area and figuring out, where the need is. Where can I go and find that information? So it's really, I think, interesting. And it's really interesting even just to, think about information related to limited supermarket access. And if I go into Maryland, it's not just Baltimore when I'm in Maryland. I'm also thinking about, the rural areas within Maryland and where is there limited supermarket access? And, where are the grocery retail locations? And then I can, filter this out and see, the service level of these grocery retail locations. Maybe I just wanted to see where are the full service supermarkets. And if I go, to this area, I keep on zooming in. Sorry. I can find these areas and see, exactly what's happening or, that don't have access to fresh, healthy foods. And here we have this small area where we can see it's a limited supermarket access area. And here we're south, we're actually, south of the city. But again, we can, quickly and easily determine what's happening within these areas. So the other piece that I really have not gone into is that users can upload their own place-based data into a map. So if, for instance, they'd have specific programs or business sites or institutions that they wanted to put on a map and see what's happening around those areas, they could do that. For instance, public libraries do that. They might upload their patron data or their program data and take a look at changes over time or areas where they're missing. So you can upload your own data onto a map and overlay it with our data as well. And as I mentioned before, you can download our data for use in other tools. So I feel like I've given you a lot of information. If you forget everything that I said, there is the support page. We have a free training twice a week. We have all of these overviews, and there are also some great short videos that will, give in a nutshell, how to navigate through the platform and give an overview to, professors or students if they needed to figure out how to do things. But hopefully you can see that it's really intuitive and, there's, it's an easy tool, and it's a tool that's used across disciplines. It's used in journalism to create maps and tables for journalism students. It's used in public health. It's used in nursing. It's used in sociology, political science, urban studies. Can I answer any questions for you all? No? Well, I appreciate your time. The trial is still going on, so if you wanted to dig in, definitely do that. If questions come up about the data, about comparisons, about how it could be used for a specific class or curriculum, let me know. Thanks, everyone.
Yeah,
And
thanks.
I will go ahead and forward the recording.
Awesome. Thank you. And yeah, if we have if anyone else has questions that they want to like send to me, I can send them to Betsy. So and if you think of anything.
Great. I appreciate it. Thanks and have a wonderful day. Great week.
Thanks a lot.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.